This is Healing at Soul Level with your host, Shawna Williams. Shawna is here to provide various forms of healing that are non-invasive, that promote relaxation and aid the body in naturally healing itself by using ancient healing techniques that have been around for centuries. So please welcome the host of Healing at Soul Level, Shawna Williams.
Hello and welcome to Healing at Soul Level. I'm your host, Shawna Williams. Christine Lisio is a spiritual healer, teacher, medical intuitive, and guide. She has received the divine gift to work directly with the master healing angels and has worked for years to develop this gift of multidimensional healing for herself and others. Welcome to the show, Christine.
Hi, Shawna. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad you agreed to be on my show. I have to tell the listeners, it's kind of funny because I was looking up some people to be on the show, and I was looking up somebody I had met at one of these holistic fairs I was at, and the website was similar to yours. So when I typed up the first few letters, yours popped up. So I clicked it, thought it was the other person, and it was you. And I actually have not even contacted the other person.
That's so funny. Yes, I think it was meant to be.
Yeah. So I was like, well, great. You want to be on my show? And you were like, sure.
Sounds good. Sounds like fun.
Yeah. So anyway, so tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you learned about brain balancing.
Yes. So brain balancing is one of my sort of signature processes that I do, healing processes. But it really resulted from my very extended illness. I had a very long chronic illness, and it was one of those things where, you're going from doctor to doctor and nobody can figure out what's wrong with you and all of that. So it was a very difficult time. And then so just to give you an idea of what it was. So the diagnosis was chronic fatigue syndrome, which basically means it's a bunch of symptoms and they don't know what's going on.
Right.
And my symptoms were extreme fatigue, muscle aches, like nerve pain throughout my body, severe brain fog. And through all of this, I had two young children, one baby and a toddler, when all of this started. So it was really difficult because I was semi-bedridden. Probably if I didn't have children, I would have been 100% bedridden. And eventually, the illness led me to my spiritual awakening because I was not on a particular spiritual path at that time. And it also led me to my teacher, my spiritual teacher and healer, and my training with him, that I was blessed with the direct connection to work with the master healing angels. And so through that connection, I began to work on further, deeper healing for myself, and my brain was part of the symptoms that was significant, and it was severely impacted from all the inflammation in my body, and it was taking a long time for my brain to kind of come back online. And so I started working with the angels, and put together healing processes, things I had learned from Master John, and other things I was intuitively guided to ask for, and put together this whole healing set of processes for the brain. And I started doing it for myself every day, and it was working. And my brain function was improving. I had combined it with my spiritual practice, and the results were really phenomenal. And then I started to realize, as I was doing healing work for friends and family and all, that this was helpful for them too. People who were not necessarily ill but were in stressful situations, had different challenges going on, or just feeling off even. And I was getting really great results there as well. And I was like, wow, this isn't, just for me. This is for everyone. Everyone will benefit from this. And so that's kind of how the brain balancing process was born. And I started doing it on clients, and they really loved it. And it did get expanded out from the initial set of processes to be even more supportive for people on their path. So that's how that came to be.
Wow, because before I went to your website, I had never heard of brain balancing before, and actually through this show, I've learned so many more things and modalities that are out there, and so
right.
Brain balancing, it was very intriguing to me. So that's when I was like, yeah, I think I would like for her to talk about this on the show, because I don't know how many other people haven't heard of it, but I had never heard of it. Actually, I have a group of Reiki people who I go and have, we have Reiki to each other, because as you probably know, we do a lot of healing for other people and not so much for ourselves, right?
Exactly.
So this is a Reiki share, and only one person had heard of brain balancing in that group of, I think it was around 10 people or something like that.
Right. Well, the brain is just so important.
Yes.
And there is so much happening. The brain has so much influence on what's going on with our body and how we're feeling, how we're thinking, our perspective. Basically what I tell people is the brain is our processing center, and it's how our brain processes our thoughts and experiences is what creates our daily reality. And there are so many factors that are impacting our brain and how we're feeling in our bodies. We've got stresses, worries, we've got toxins from the environment, toxins from things we're ingesting. And of course, we have illness, people with various levels of illness. All of these things have an effect on our brain function, and our negative thoughts and emotions have a huge impact, and they cause blockages and imbalances and dysfunctions because our thoughts and emotions create a cocktail of chemicals. And so depending on where our thoughts are, that's going to dictate the level of quality of the chemicals that are being produced. So, it makes sense that our positive and elevated thoughts and emotions are going to create beneficial chemicals that are supportive and bring balance and alignment, peace, whereas when we are in stress and we are having a lot of worries and negative thoughts and emotions, it's creating a cocktail of chemicals that are not beneficial, and they're contributing to imbalances, inflammation, and even just, our mental state, our perspective, which creates this kind of feedback loop, So it's like we get stuck sometimes in these cycles, and it's really hard to get out. And that's where brain balancing comes in, because it gives people a reset, a leg up kind of, because with the master healing angels and the healing that they do, they're able to reset everything and bring balance and release toxins and so many healing processes to help people get back on track.
So it's kind of like the good that it can do. That's kind of like when you have endorphins, right? Isn't that like a happy cocktail of is that emotions, or is that
right?
Like
no, endorphins
cocktail,
are
right?
chemicals that are created by the body, and they are a feel-good type of a chemical. They cause relaxation as well, but more of a peace. And that's why when people exercise, it helps them manage their stress levels and helps to release toxins and bring in more of the good, positive, beneficial chemicals. Whereas, when we're not exercising, we're not having that benefit. But there's also a limit to what exercise can do. It's definitely hugely positive, but there's definitely a limit, and that's where this powerful, profound healing work comes in.
Oh, okay. Well, it's very interesting. So what we're going to do, though, is we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back and learn more about brain balancing. Welcome back to Healing at Soul Level, and I'm your host, Shawna Williams. We've been talking with Christine Lisio about brain balancing, and I'd like to know, how does this brain balancing work?
Yes. So basically what happens is, through my connection with the Master Healing Angel, I'm able to invoke very technical healing for the brain. So this is providing deep cleansing, purifying, and balancing for the brain in 3 important areas of your brain-body system. So we have the hormonal glands, which of course are not entirely in our brain, but we have important ones there. For the brain chemical areas, so these are the areas of your brain that are responding to our thoughts and emotions and putting out the chemicals, along with hormones as well. And your nervous system, which is not entirely, again, in the brain, but we address all of these systems in their entirety because of how they impact the brain. And so all of these areas are being unblocked, detoxified, and balanced. And we move on to, once we have those pieces taken care of, we move on to a balancing of the right and left hemispheres of the brain, the balancing and unblocking of the conscious and subconscious mind. And there are other advanced technical processes that are done for a rejuvenation and regeneration of the brain. And people generally on average, they have very, very positive, peaceful, blissful experiences from it. People who have a lot of toxins and blockages causing interference are going to experience an even more palpable result from the healing. And then occasionally there are people that really have a significant shift because there was, just something that was being done in that session that was exactly the thing that they happen to need. And, I've had people whose symptoms of adrenal fatigue clear up and, have felt just amazing after one session. It really, it's incredible, and it does vary by person to person.
Right.
But but it's like a reboot for your brain, and it provides a tremendous amount of support in whatever it is you are trying to do to move forward in your life, to create change, to have a more happier, healthier life, because we have all of these things that are working against us. The things that I mentioned earlier, which we've got the toxins and the blockages that accumulate in the brain from worry and stress and illness and all of that. So
does anybody ever feel anything? Like with some energy healings, you can actually feel tingling or any type of sensations.
Well, absolutely. And it does, it varies person to person depending on their level of sensitivity. But the majority of the people I work with happen to be somewhat sensitive. And so they absolutely feel sensations going on throughout the body, but especially in the brain area. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's cool when you can feel tingling and stuff. I like that feeling.
I love that too, because it's a really nice validation, confirmation, and it helps to sort of develop that faith when you have that experience. But I'll be honest, when I started doing this, I didn't feel anything because I was so I had been so ill, and it took such a long time to move along that I didn't feel anything. So that really was a faith-building exercise for me to just keep trusting and developing my faith, and trusting, developing my faith. And for clients that don't feel anything, they get a little bummed out, but I should say, just stick with it. As with anything, when you're feeling in the subtle realms, it's subtle.
Yeah.
You have to be attuned. Yeah.
Exactly. Because if it's for some people, if it's too strong, and then you probably would go into that healing crisis, which normally makes you feel worse than you were feeling already.
That is possible. There's the, detoxification effect that can happen.
Yes.
In this work, the angels are pretty, they know what they're doing. They're pretty careful. The only time we experience that type of a thing is when we're dealing with illness and infections and things. And so when the angels kill an infection, then they are going to, people generally will have a period of detoxification, which is a healing crisis.
Right. So who can benefit from this healing?
I'm sorry, did you say who could benefit?
Yeah, like is there a certain type of people that would benefit more, or is it just for everybody? How does that work?
Yeah, so everybody can benefit from this, absolutely, because we're just bombarded. I mean, I don't even think I mentioned, the external energetic effects from, frequencies, EMFs, radiation, all of these things that affect all of our spiritual structures. It affects our brain, and that is part of, I don't talk about it when I'm focused on the brain, but before any healing session I do with anyone, the angels address the entire spiritual anatomy, as they call it. And so we really kind of take a beating from our environment. So it helps. It definitely helps everybody. The people that would really, really benefit from this are people who are in difficult, challenging periods where they want to step out of the cycles of stress. They want to. They just want support in making a shift. And people with brain fog, and so many people have brain fog these days where they just feel like they can't think straight.
Right.
And mental clarity is another one.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a break for a few seconds, but when we come back, Christine is going to do a mini brain session for all of our listeners. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome back to Healing at Soul Level. I'm your host, Shawna Williams. Today we're going to talk with Christine Lisio, and she's going to do a mini brain balancing session. Take it away.
Yes, okay. So this is for everyone who is listening, and anyone who listens to the podcast will receive this healing. Replaying after that. I think it'll vary per person. Who knows what will happen. But I'd like everyone to just take a few cleansing breaths and just relax into your space. Just closing your eyes. Bringing your awareness into your heart space. Feeling the stillness, peace, in the sacred space of your heart. Just allow yourself to become open and receptive to this healing. As the Master Healing Angels are bestowing upon you a downpouring of your golden soul energy. This is your soul bliss, your soul power, flowing into all parts of your being. So this is a level of your soul power the Master Angels are able to bring into you that is not typically available. This is a deeper access into the soul energy. So just allow the soul energy to flow through your chakras and meridians, all of your energy channels, well as your light field. Now, the angels are bestowing upon you a downpouring of actually this is soul bliss. This is the bliss energy of the divine. And just allow this soul bliss to move through parts of you. Because our time is short in this segment, we're going to very quickly move to the brain. As the angels will be doing several processes as I speak. And so they're going to start with removing blockages and toxins in your brain chemical areas. Removing blockages and toxins in all of your hormonal glands. The pathways of your hormonal system, as well as the neural pathways, the receptor sites in the cell. So they're all being cleansed, purified, unblocked. The angels are now balancing your brain chemical area. These are what they're balancing are not only the brain chemicals, but behavior chemicals, emotional chemicals, balancing all of your hormonal levels. But also energizing, strengthening, and empowering your hormonal glands. The angels are synchronizing, balancing the right and left hemispheres of your brain. And resetting all of your brainwave function to optimal levels. The angels are removing all etheric blockage between your conscious and subconscious mind, synchronizing and unifying conscious and subconscious mind. So go into the process that the angels do, the amygdala region of your brain, which is a cleansing, purifying, and a restructuring for the amygdala region of your brain. We also pay special attention to the pineal gland. The angels are purifying and cleansing the pineal gland, providing then activation for your pineal gland. Now, the process of rejuvenation and regeneration is being applied to your brain. Just allow healing angels carry these processes. Just tuning to see what other special technical healing is going to occur, and this is for your nervous system. Your entire nervous system being cleansed, purified, and unblocked. Toxins are being eliminated. Your nervous system is being strengthened and empowered. Just allow as the angels are strengthening and empowering the nervous system. I'm going to bestow upon you, this is a more advanced technique for upgrading of your spiritual structures, points of light into your nervous system. You're allowing everyone listening to receive points of light, supports the, as I said, the upgrading of your nervous system.
We're going to have to cut this out here. It's time for a break.
So everyone just continue to relax and receive during the break.
We'll be right back. Okay, and welcome back to Healing at Soul Level. I'm your host, Shawna Williams. We were having a mini brain balancing session, and Christine will have some closing remarks for that. Christine?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, I hear you now.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. The angels brought through all of the core brain balancing processes for the mini session. It was in a more compressed time frame, which means that there is less space in between to really experience and to feel. But some of you may have felt, tingling at the top of your head and the crown chakra area. A lot of the energies come in that way, but they also come in through your auric field and other directions as well. And so that may even still be continuing on for people as these processes of the angels are just kind of closing out, because like I said, it was a little bit compressed. So hopefully everyone enjoyed that little mini session, which just kind of gives you a little taste of what it's like. Usually these sessions, if I'm doing them one-on-one, will go about 45 minutes. Get into more of the advanced processes like we did at the end with the points of light coming into the nervous system. And what this does is, this is a one of the more advanced techniques to support, what people talk about as ascension and what's going on with our planet and the energies being more elevated. And as we're moving through this rapid period of evolution, our spiritual structures need to keep up. And that's part of what the angels are doing when we get into those types of processes, which we do more of in the full brain balancing.
I'm glad you mentioned that. The energy that comes in through your crown chakra, you can continue to still feel it, because I'm still feeling it in mine. How long does that average last after a session?
Well, it depends on the amount of work being done, really, but I would say, from 5 to 15 minutes, mini session like that probably won't be more than about 5 or so, 15, 20, depending on the level, the level of healing, how much work was done, and all of that.
Okay, yeah, because like I said before, I like that feeling, but it feels like, there's something crawling around on the top of my head. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. But I know there's nothing up there.
Yeah. Right. I usually feel it like this kind of pressure, kind of like a tingly, gentle pressure kind of at the top of the head. And that's how I know there's some work being done. It's usually something good. But I'd like to actually take a moment to talk about the Master Healing Angels. So
great.
The listeners can understand, who we're working with, really, when we're engaging.
That's good information.
The Master Healing Angels. Yeah. So what I'd like to say is, as I mentioned in the beginning, how I was given this gift to work directly with the Master Healing Angels through my teacher, Master John Douglas, and that was a very sacred initiation that I went through to receive this direct connection. And all of why it's so special is because the Master Healing Angels are the highest level of angel. They're at the apex of the angelic order. They're also creationary angels because they're at the apex of the angelic order. So they're creationary angels, which means that they were involved in various aspects of creation and have a deep understanding of specifically our human body.
Right.
And so that's how the healing is so very technical. It's not just a matter of, just high vibrational energy coming through, although it is, but there are certain frequencies that the angels are transmitting to affect the very specific chemistry, in this case with the brain balancing, the brain chemistry, and being able to, remove blockages in the physiology and to be able to develop our spiritual structures, because because of where we are on our evolutionary path, we're not fully developed in our spiritual anatomy. And that's what, as this process we're going through, we're coming on more online, and the Master Healing Angels are here to help move it forward even faster. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes perfect sense. To me, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and so, the Master Healing Angels have never worked here on Earth before, until Master John arrived, essentially. And so he was the one who came to Earth to bring the Master Healing Angels beautiful healing gifts here to us. And so the reason why they're here is to help us through the ascension process, the entire planet. And so while they may work individually with people one-on-one, they are also working on the planet and the collective, and supporting our planet and being on the optimal timeline. And they're really doing so much. It's pretty astounding, really, and we're so blessed to have them here.
So when you say Master John, are you talking about somebody that you're speaking to at this time, or the father of brain balancing?
No, so brain balancing is something I co-created with the Master Healing Angels. So it was basically putting together a whole set of technical processes. Master John is basically the representative on Earth, the person who brought the Master Healing Angels, or enabled the Master Healing Angels to come here to Earth. So he's sort of think of the main conduit for this healing on Earth. And then I, through my connection and training with him and my path as a healer, and it was, a soul contract ahead of time that I would be part of this lineage of healing that was brought here by Master John. So hopefully that makes sense. And it is a very advanced lineage of healing that the angels refer to as angelic reformation.
Mm-hmm. I understand now. I wasn't sure because, with Reiki, Dr. Asui is the one that, brought Reiki out.
Yes.
But he's not the one that I specifically train with. I train with the lineage down his line. So that's why I wasn't sure. So you're at the top of the lineage, basically, from Master John.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. That makes a lot of sense now, because I always have to put things in a certain order in my head to understand it.
Right. Well, yes, and that's how our brains work, right?
Yeah.
we have to order things, and that's all perfect. So, yeah.
Okay. So, do you have any examples of people that this may have happened, that have had good results from brain balancing?
I do. And so I was mentioning the person earlier who had quite a miraculous healing through brain balancing.
Yes. Let's go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll come back and talk about some of this. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Healing at Soul Level. And I'm your host, Shawna Williams. Today we're talking with Christine Lisio about brain balancing. And she's going to give us a little information about how it's worked for some of her clients.
Yes. So as I had mentioned in an earlier segment, there's one person in particular who, through the brain balancing, she had quite a miraculous type of experience through the brain balancing session. And maybe I will just read here what she wrote, and because it's kind of nice. She says, "I've been experiencing a new body effect since the last healing call. It seems that the adrenal fatigue that I had been plagued with for years is gone. I'm still getting used to the increased sensitivity in the basal body temperature, no more Raynaud's syndrome." So basically, she was feeling cold in her fingertips and all of that. And so that shifted for her, where she was having a normal body temperature and not feeling cold and her fingertips turning purple. And she said, "But it's great to feel like my body finally works." She said, "I suspect I've been processing stress and moving out toxins, but I've got more stamina, and it's not a moment too soon," she said. And this is the mother of a young child, a single mom, and so she had quite a wonderful experience from just one session, and that was on the monthly healing call that I do, which I'll talk about in a minute.
Wow, that was one session. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So my clients love the brain balancing process so much that they started to ask if there was a way to just receive it on a monthly basis. And so I decided to start the monthly healing call, which is a group brain balancing. It started off as group brain balancing, and I love this offering that I have because it is such a phenomenal value, because they are receiving, well, not only the full brain balancing session, but it's evolved into a healing call for spiritual growth and development as well. And so I actually ended up changing the name in January to Expanding Consciousness, but the brain balancing session is embedded in that healing. And so it was a group of people that were interested, and I started doing this for them we did one right after the eclipse. And that's actually, said they wanted it more. I did a special call for the post-eclipse last August. And so then right after that, I started doing it monthly, offering it monthly. And people, they really love receiving this on a monthly basis because they are interested in spiritual growth and development, and they just feel it is very, very supportive. With the brain balancing piece of it, it's providing that reboot for the brain, that kind of reset that helps them move forward with whatever it is they're trying to accomplish with their goals, or making changes, or being more positive in their life, or more closely aligned with their best life path. But also what it's expanded into is these more advanced spiritual processes for growth and development. And so in the mini session, the angels provided everybody with the points of light into the nervous system. And I don't expect that anybody specifically could feel that or could tell about that, but but that's part of this upgrading to the dimensions that and the energies that we're moving into, and supporting that whole process. Plus, it's really like the title names it, it's an expanding of consciousness. So there's a lot of work that goes on in deep areas like the subconscious mind. That's a whole other topic we could, talk for an hour about. The subconscious
couple
mind,
of hours,
right? And a couple hours, right? I mean, there's so much of our being is comes from what's in that subconscious mind. And so there's a lot of reformation, rewiring of circuits and structures in the subconscious mind that goes on in this healing call. And there's other deep work that also goes on for in the area of relationship development. And this is not specifically relationship with, your neighbor or your partner, but we're talking about going back in time, going far back in relationships with not only people, but places and things where we've developed all of these karmic threads that have an impact on us today. So that's another very profound process that is done monthly on these virtual healing calls.
Oh, that's very interesting. We want to make sure that people find out how to sign up for these monthly brain balancing information, and we will find out this information when we come back from break. Welcome back to Healing at Soul Level. I'm your host, Shawna Williams. Today we've been talking about brain balancing with my guest, Christine Lisio. And she's given us a lot of information today. We've even had a mini brain balancing session. But what I'd like is for you to be able to understand how to contact her and learn about other modalities that she has. So take it away, Christine.
Yes, so my website is a wonderful place to learn more about what I offer. And it's actually just newly redesigned and went live this week, so I'm very excited about it. And the website address is soulhealingllc.com, but soul is spelled S-O-L, like the sun, or the Spanish word for sun, SOLHEALING LLC.com. soulhealingllc.com is my website. My email address I think you can find there, but it's Christine at soulhealingllc.com is my email address. And so I've spoken about the brain balancing. It's a monthly healing call called Expanding Consciousness, and that is generally the first Sunday of every month. And it's an incredible value at just $49 for that healing session. Whereas if you do one-on-one, just an initial session is quite a bit more than that, $185 for a one-on-one brain balancing, which I also do. One-on-one brain balancing sessions, I offer those to people who like the one-on-one attention. And another type of session I offer I just call them customized sessions, and that's where I work with people on a more regular basis, either weekly or every other week, once a month, whatever is comfortable for them. And we work on their spiritual development, their goals. We work on getting through difficult cycles and trauma and things like that, and very powerful healing comes through for people working and engaging on a regular basis. And what I do when I'm working with somebody, more than just a one-off session, is what I've been guided or taught to do is to connect with the angels to find out what is the appropriate charge for them based on, their how often they are going to do it and all of that, so that it's something that is really guided by the angels for the charge. So usually those begin with a free consultation, and then we determine what the cost is.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the show, Christine. It was great talking with you and learning about brain balancing and the other services that you provide. Again, if you want to contact Christine, you can go to her website at soulhealingllc.com, or email is christine@soulhealingllc.com, and you can also find her on Facebook at Christine Lisio. That's Lisio. Tune in next week to hear about the saints with my guest Paul Mark Francis. And you can listen to the podcast for this and other episodes on my website at indigo-qi.com. You've been listening to Healing at Soul Level, and I'm your host, Shawna Williams. Thank you for tuning in. Love and light.
This has been Healing at Soul Level with host Shawna Williams. Listen each week as Shawna will help you discover the different healing modalities and how to use them in your everyday life, right here on Shawna Williams' Healing at Soul Level.